I expected college to be a lot more of like, this is like the time of my life. This is going to be the time I remember forever. And more of like, I guess like the highlight. It was supposed to be the high. And then I don't know, maybe it's just part of getting older is you realize that like nothing's actually the highlight. Like you're going to have highs and lows in every single time. And as you continue to grow, you realize that like, just because you didn't get these things in your college experience doesn't like mean your life isn't fulfilling.
I think that's a really interesting way to look at it, that when we look at, if you compartmentalize different periods of your life, like high school shouldn't be the highlight of your entire life, right? You should have a highlight of high school. There should be a highlight in college. There should be a highlight in your 20s, a highlight in your 30s.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting way of looking at it, because a lot of people will look back and say, this was the best moment of my life.
Welcome to the Daughter Dearest Podcast with dynamic mother-daughter duo Simone and Olivia Knego, where they discuss the secrets of transformation and how to build bold confidence and unwavering resilience. From intimate conversations with inspiring guests to sharing their personal journeys of triumph and challenge, Simone and Olivia create a supportive space where every woman is encouraged to rise above her fears and love the woman in the mirror. Tune into the Daughter Dearest Podcast and join this special journey of connection and growth.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Daughter Dearest Podcast. I'm Simone Knego.
And I'm Olivia Knego.
And today we are going to be talking about the college experience, the letting go, the graduating, all of it. There's so many parts to it, and we're going to kind of break it down because in 2 weeks, Olivia is graduating from college.
Woo woo. I'm literally so excited.
I am so excited too. Like, that bill is gone. And she has a full ride to law school. So like that bill is gone. So it is very exciting for me. And only,
you haven't actually even congratulated me on that factor yet, by the way.
You think I haven't?
You haven't, the bill being gone. Like that fact. We haven't even talked about that.
Well, of course I was like, thank you. I'm not even going to say it. Thank you so much. The fact that you got a full ride to a law school, like that is life-changing for you and for me and for us, our whole family. Like that is hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt or money that we don't need to pay. And thank you for like being dedicated and hardworking.
Oh,
and
really,
I can't thank you for being
ego right now.
I can't tell you thank you for being smart. You are smart, but like thank you for putting in the work to get you to this place. So
yeah, I'm just really ready. I don't know. I'm both ready to be done, and I'm also very sad. It's a weird range of emotions. I'm like very volatile right now. So like I could break down into tears at any moment just thinking about leaving.
Well, don't do that right now. I'm like,
no, but
I don't feel like that
this morning, and she was just like, I don't even know what we were talking about. Oh, if she was going to come out tonight. And I was like, you have to, like, it's my last 2 weeks. And I just started crying.
Well, it is crazy that it's your last. I cannot believe 4 years have gone by.
No, I can't believe it. I really cannot. I can't. I like, it's crazy how time has passed. It's crazy the person I've become during that time.
So let's take a step back. Let's start at the beginning, because you are my third child to go off to college. So when my first child went off to college, when your older brother, because the other two brothers are younger than you, but when Jacob went off to college, like he was ready, I was ready, but when it actually happened, it was really tough, right? Like I was used to having 6 kids, at home, which for most people they would say, oh my God, that is overwhelming. But that's what I was used to. And each time a kid goes off to college, it gets quieter. It gets less messy. So I'm not going to complain about that. But it really changes the dynamics of the house. And so I remember when he left, I remember being in his room. I went in his room one day and I was lying on his bed and I was crying. And your dad walked in and he's like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, this is like the beginning. This is like and I don't want to say the beginning of the end, but the beginning of a completely different life for us. Like we have immersed ourselves in our children for 20 years, right? And I mean, it was 18 years at the time, and it's a really hard thing as a parent to be able to let go. But I mean, now that I've done it 3 times, obviously it gets a little bit easier each time, harder in some ways, easier in others. But it's the understanding that this is the process that needs to happen. Actually, 4 times. I shouldn't say 3 times, but 3 are graduating. One had just finished his first year. So, but we need to let our kids go find out who they are and kind of live their own lives. Like if we've raised our kids to the point where they're ready to fly, like we need to let them fly.
I mean, I don't have kids.
Well, you don't have kids, but as my kid, like, what do you think about that whole thing? Like, it's not like I ever like pushed you off and said, okay, I'm never talking to you again. I mean, I was there constantly. I mean, we talk every day.
I mean, I don't know. It's, you guys have allowed us the freedom, I guess, to explore who we are, but like also like with a tether that if something bad happens, we can always come back.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're also like not the kind of kids that are like, okay, you go away for college for 4 years and then you move back to the same town. I don't think that'll happen to any of us. So I think that's also interesting. And like you guys have been supportive in every step of the way, because for like a lot of people, it's like, okay, well, I'll support college, but you're coming back. And it's like, I'm moving to a different state. Jacob's probably never going to move back to Florida.
I don't think anybody will move back to Florida, but the nice thing,
I want to retire. It's my plan right now,
okay,
unless it's under the water.
But the nice thing is you guys will want to come visit, right? And especially once you have kids, the idea of going to the beach and the waters and whatever, like whether you have kids or not, I don't really know. But either way.
Are you going to have to put a pool net back up, Mom? A pool gate? You ever think about that?
I never got rid of it. It's in the storage area.
Oh my God, you're so smart. You're so smart.
Yeah.
Planning to be grandma for how many damn years?
You got to plan for all of it. When you have 6 kids, you never know what's going to happen. But so, I mean, 4 years have gone by. I mean, you started college during COVID, and your last day on campus, other than taking your exams, was literally in the middle of a protest.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. So, like, tell me about the beginning, tell me about the end, and then we'll talk about the middle and advice that you have.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that you look at my college experience and just like on paper, I started with COVID and I'm ending with all of the disruptions happening at college campuses right now. Like, I don't know, maybe the last 10 years, or maybe life is always just this difficult and there's always things happening. But I feel like not a lot of people had the experiences that we had happening during like my classes years at university. So like I mean, like I was lucky enough to go my freshman year. Most people weren't. And I think that the freshman year not being the way it was like really affected my college experience. I don't think I had anywhere close to the experience that a lot of the underclassmen have now, especially with relationships with professors and like on-campus activities. It wasn't really an option. And then I moved off my junior year. And at that point, it feels like it's too late. And it's never actually too late, but you already have what you have going on. And mine just like didn't happen to be connected to my campus.
If you look back, do you think you should have like held off for a year? And I say that with a caveat because you wouldn't have your best friend, right? Like you wouldn't have ever met her if you wouldn't have gone. So,
and I don't
and your other friends like, too.
Know what would have happened. I don't know if I would have even ended up, if I pushed it off a year, I don't know if I would have ended up going to New York City, because I knew, like, as much as I loved my experience here, I knew it wasn't somewhere I wanted to be forever. So I think maybe I would have just chosen somewhere else.
Okay.
I don't know if holding it off, like,
I think you were lucky. I think you were lucky, actually. The fact that they actually allowed you to come to campus. I mean, how many kids had that completely wiped away? They couldn't even do that. Everything was virtual. So their option was to go virtual, or their option was to postpone by a year. And although your classes were still virtual, you still got to meet people. You still got to interact with people. And yes, they didn't have all of the activities that they do now, but you still got to be there.
Yeah, I just think that like in general, I don't know, maybe it's just that I've lived for only however many years, 21 years, but college seemed like it was going to be
Did you already
more of
forget
like,
how old you are?
no. Actually, yesterday I was saying all day that I was 22 for some reason. Don't know why.
That's really
So,
funny.
um, yeah, I think that I expected college to be a lot more of like, this is like the time of my life. This is going to be the time I remember forever. And more of like, I guess like the highlight. It was supposed to be the high. And then I don't know, maybe it's just part of getting older is you realize that like nothing's actually the highlight. Like you're going to have highs and lows in every single
Mm.
time. And as you continue to grow, you realize that like just because you didn't get these things in your college experience doesn't like mean your life isn't fulfilling.
I think that's a
And
really interesting way to look at it. That when we look at if you compartmentalize different periods of your life, like high school shouldn't be the highlight of your entire life, right? You should have a highlight of high school. There should be a highlight in college. There should be a highlight in your 20s, a highlight in your 30s. I
yeah,
think that's a really interesting way of looking at it because a lot of people will look back and say, this was the best moment of my life. And okay, sometimes you do have that best moment. But what was your best moment in your 20s? What's your best moment in your 30s? What's your best
yeah.
moment? All of those things.
I mean, it just like gives you more freedom to have room and also like gets rid of expectations of what needs to happen by a certain time. But like I don't know, I feel like the way the media portrays college is this like, and I also granted did not go to a stereotypical school. I went to a city school. I chose not to go to the traditional campus. My campus, like my university doesn't even have like frats or sororities. We don't have any of that kind of like stereotypical American college culture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my Siri went off. But yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really get that. Like, but I don't feel unfulfilled because of it.
Well, I mean, going back, that's actually what you wanted. You wanted a big city. You didn't want
Yeah.
the isolated college campus. You kind of wanted just to be able to do your thing. And again, if you had to go back in time, would you say I would do the exact same thing again? Not the exact same college. I mean, forget COVID, like put that aside. But
Hmm.
would you still choose to be on a campus that didn't have all those things? Or do you feel like that you would recommend to other students, like go check out the schools that have all the things. They have the sports, they have those activities that you can literally live your life entirely on the campus and you don't ever
Yeah.
have to leave.
Well, you know what? That literally comes down to who you are as a person. And if you are not ready to be independent, go to a stereotypical college. Go to somewhere where like you don't have to think about dinner. You can walk to the dining hall. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to think about laundry, or I guess you do, but whatever. You know what I
Well,
mean?
it's
Like
right there. You don't
safety
have, yeah, it's right
and
there.
furniture and all of the above. And it's just like being at a city school makes you incredibly more independent and in some aspects, I would say more mature. It also teaches you like financial management, I would guess, a lot earlier than I would say at traditional schools. And maybe it's just my campus atmosphere, but I also say it shows you like you have to work. It kind of like that hustle culture exists there.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that is like a New York City side effect because we have like the worst hustle culture ever. But there's always something like moving and going. So like I think you really have to be the right type of person. I do think like going away from my college experience, I think everybody should live in New York at some point in their lives. I think that it is such a transformative experience, and I'm glad I did it when I did because anything I move to for the rest of my life will be easy compared to New York.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it just like gets you ready for the world, but also you're totally allowed to just be chilling at a college campus, like having a good time.
What would be if you could give like three recommendations for someone that's in high school that before they even apply, what would you, I mean, looking back at how you did things, and again, it's a different realm because it was during COVID, but
Yeah.
what would be your top three things that you would say, you should look at
Um,
this, you should consider this?
yeah, I think it's a lot of the small things, honestly. Like you should consider if not having a car is going to drive you insane because here, like you can't have a car, but sometimes I wish I had a car so badly.
Just to
But
escape.
that's yeah, and so like in some aspects you're very trapped, and I would consider with every place that you go. Um, and I'm in general like I'm a person that likes to be, I don't know, out and about traveling. I don't really like to stay in one place for too long. So would definitely look at like how where is it in the world? Like where is it compared to everyone else? If you're having a bad day and just want to escape to go somewhere else, is that easy to do?
Mm-hmm.
Can you,
Makes
or
sense.
like I think another big one is like um it's not even about the university culture, because the university culture, like obviously it's different at every single school, but like you can find your people everywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think one of the things you do have to consider is the culture of the place where you're going. So like if you're wanting the friendly social atmosphere of the South, don't come to New York. Like people are not going to be as friendly, and I think that's a really important thing, because sometimes it can feel rather lonely if you're not ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know. I would definitely look at that. I'm trying to think like what did I really look for when I applied to schools? I really just wanted a city school.
Yeah, you were so
Um,
focused on city. So that's why I'm asking, like, so you gave two things. Like, is there one other thing that you would say you
yeah.
should consider this, or I wish I would have considered this? And again, I know you don't regret your time where you were. Like, I think that you had putting all the factors together, you had an amazing college experience. You did great. And you're going full ride. Congratulations to law school. So, I mean, that
Yeah.
all set you up for the life you have today. And I'm a big believer in that every step we take, every roadblock we hit, every bump in the road kind of leads us to where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So,
So I think that then that would be like the last thing to consider with like the type of person you are and the motivation you are.
mm,
And I think that applies to a lot of things. But I think one of the things that like incoming senior or like incoming freshmen look at when applying to schools is about like classes and statistics in that way. But you actually really should be looking at job statistics and not just like the employment rate, like go much more into that. And like look what career services they have, because like my boyfriend goes to a university that's definitely more merit, like it's higher on the scale. I guess it's a what do you like how do you say it's a better school, but it's not really. It's just on that ranking it's
yeah,
considered more studious or
right,
whatever.
right.
But in terms of their career resources compared to what I have at Fordham, and like I'm so lucky that the Gabelli School of Business has what they do, um it's like a completely different experience. I would say like a big thing, and maybe as I go to the school I do, is like you want to go to a school where they're not just teaching you how to learn, they're teaching you how to work.
Mm. Teaching how to
um
live. I mean, right? I mean, it's like,
yeah, like I took a whole class in like LinkedIn and resume building.
yeah,
I think that that's really important. And I think a lot of the times like some colleges, it seems silly, like you do all these philosophy and then what's the actual working part? And I would like go to a school where that kind of atmosphere is like it's not only included in the curriculum, but like that's the atmosphere of the students. Because I will say, like, I wasn't planning on working as much like job wise as I did, but I have the people around me are incredibly motivated and my friends
mm-hmm.
are incredibly motivated. So that in some aspects like pressured me to get a job and start researching what I want to do and exploring all these different fields. And I think so in that aspect, that's also really important, is finding the right atmosphere for you to succeed in.
So it's interesting that you say that because that was when we visited High Point with Ari. Was it when we visited? I don't know. It might have been when he was, his first day, like when we dropped
Mm-hmm.
him off. So the president said that you're at an amazing institution, but now it's who you surround yourself with, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is truly a big factor in how successful you are, is that
So,
you
so
can,
important.
you can go anywhere, but if you surround yourself by people who don't care, that they're just there to get it done versus actually to learning is the most important part of college, and to achieve, then you're going to have a completely different experience. And I can tell you that your brother has completely surprised me because high school was, I mean, he always did well, but he has severe dyslexia, right? And so he had to work that much harder, and he didn't really want to go to college. And we say to the kids that here's the plan, like you're going to college unless you give us another plan.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to make anybody go if they have like a whole business plan set up that they know that they can implement and they want to try it. Right. But if your plan doesn't involve a plan, then you go to college for a year and you figure it out. And for him, I think it's been transformative, right? He literally spent most Friday nights in the library studying. I mean, he killed it this year. Like he really worked so hard. I mean, he did amazing. And I'm so proud of him for that. But he also decided who he was going to surround himself with. So, and this is no offense to people who rush, because obviously fraternities and sororities are a huge deal in our society. But he went for 2 days. He bought the clothes. He went to the different things and meeting people. And then he called me and he said, what if I don't do it? And I said, okay, you do what you want to do. I was like, why? He's like, I just can't imagine people telling me all the time what I need to do in terms of you need to drink this or you need to sleep on this cold floor. He's like, that's not what I'm here for. He's like, I'll make friends wherever I am, but I'm here to learn. And I was like, that's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah. I think that I was actually thinking about things to talk about today, and peer pressure. Like, I think that, and not even that, like, I feel like when we say that, we think of like bullying in high schools and all that, but in the way of just because your friend is doing something or the people that you want to be friends with are doing something does not mean you have to do it, and vice versa. Just because, like, if you want to do something and no one else wants to do it, just do it anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that was like a limitation thing that I kind of like worked through in college, was I never wanted to do anything by myself. So I would always kind of I'd give up opportunities because my friends or people surrounded myself that didn't want to do them. And that's totally okay. But I think what I've learned is that I should just take myself, like, I don't know, you are your own person and do the things you want to do.
Yeah, I think it's funny because as I'm writing my new speech, the two things like I really talk about is, that we need to do the things that make us uncomfortable. You have to get comfortable getting uncomfortable, right? And doing the things that you think that you can't, because we're so focused on just completing a task that we're scared to go to that next level. But when we do the things that we think we can't, when we do something by ourselves, guess what? You meet new people.
Yeah.
There's always someone there that is doing the same thing. I mean, remember when we had Stacey Harris on the podcast, which hasn't come out yet, but when we had Stacey Harris on the podcast and we were talking about the whole networking thing and meeting new people, like everybody needs to meet new people. Everybody is trying to meet new people. And it's that overcoming that fear that someone isn't going to like you. If they don't like you,
move on. There's so many people in this world. Yeah. And I think that goes just like general advice of what I've learned for college. Like, there's so many people in this world, but keeping that in mind, like, just move on. Don't say anything, just move on. And don't form your opinions based off of what someone else says about them. Like, because you wouldn't want someone to do that to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I always feel like if someone's talking negatively about someone else, that's on that person. It has nothing to do with the person that they're talking about, right? I saw something the other day, and you know me, I'm not much on the social media in terms of like scrolling and stuff, but it was a video of a woman saying that when someone says something mean about you, don't get upset about it. Take it as a compliment, because that woman sees something in you that she doesn't see in herself, and she wants that. And I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow, but
obviously, of course,
but it's real. And there is a big world out there. There are so many people to choose from. One of the things I loved about college is that you then had a choice. You weren't in this small, I mean, we all went to smaller schools, right? I mean, I went to a private school, you went to a private school, even the older kids that went to a public school for high school, they were still really small. There were like 200 people in their class. So those were the people that you chose between, right? In terms of who you wanted to hang out with. And then you go off to college and you have thousands of people that, again, come to that situation. They show up at college with a clean slate, right? There's no baggage, there's no history that they're bringing with them. Nobody knows anything about you. You show up and you get to be who you are. You get to be who you really have always wanted to be, but felt the pressures that you couldn't be because of what maybe something that happened in high school or the friends that you were surrounded with in high school. And I just feel that college is such a place where you truly do find your people. You find your tribe. You find yourself because you get those choices.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like everyone, I feel like finds, or not everybody, but there is the opportunity that everybody can find their own group of people because there's so much diversity at every single campus. And I think that's really lovely. And it's like pretty eye-opening, especially if you go to school, with the same people for how many years. And I think that's also why, like, I'm a big advocate of like not going to the same schools as your high school friends. And I think it's fun. Like, don't get me wrong, and I know a lot of times it's like based off of like state availability and cost, but like if you're doing that, I would want you to try and reach out and try and meet new people as well, because even if like you love your friends, like I'm not saying I don't love my high school friends. Of course I love my high school friends, but it's so important to meet new people because you like diversity of thought and opinion. And in order to grow, we need change. And I don't know, it's so important in college to grow. So don't like lock yourself in with the same group.
Yeah, agreed. So looking back at getting prepared for college, what could we have done different as parents? Like, is there something that sticks out into your mind that you say, I wish you would have told me this, or I wish you would have done this,
really
or I wish you didn't do
question.
that? I mean, trust me, I think I'm pretty amazing, but
I'm trying to think. I don't know if I have an answer for that. Like, yeah, I don't think anything, to be quite honest.
Yeah. I'm just curious if there's anything, because you do see kids that show up at school and they flounder because they're not ready for the experience. And maybe they were, there are parents out there that are hovering and creating everything. And then when all of a sudden their kids move off to school, the kids don't know what to do because they're so used to having everything taken care of. Now, I mean, we do have funny stories. Like, so when Ari just finished his first year. And so I bring him to school. I cannot believe it's been a whole year. Like, that is crazy to me. So I literally, we get to school, help him move in. And I was like, okay, let's go look at the washing machines. Let's make sure you know how to do all this stuff. And it's not like he doesn't know how to wash clothes, but so we look at it. Great. We go through everything. Great. So 3 days later, he calls me and he's like, he FaceTimes me. So which one's the washer and which one's the dryer?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, you are hilarious, right? But, again, we have to teach our kids basic skills before they go off. Like, they need
But also explaining things that you think are common sense.
Right.
Little things that you do without thinking, like someone wouldn't know.
Yeah, for sure. Like just directions, right? I mean, you guys are so used to, and not necessarily, well, yes, you are so used to GPS, right? So dad today was driving with Noah. Your dad today was driving with Noah, and he was saying, okay, tell me the streets that go north, south. Tell me the streets that go east, west. And I was like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because he's so used to using a GPS. We still have to have those, I feel, those basic skills, because there's times where technology is not going to work for you and you got to figure out what to do.
Yeah. And it's also like the little things of like, if you have a cleaning lady coming every single week or once a week or once a month, you don't know that you need to scrub your toilets.
Yeah.
Like, because you never see the ring that goes around it. But like, yeah, you need to wash it. Like, you need to scrub your toilets.
Yeah. So
there's just like certain cleaning tasks that you don't think of teaching your kid because they don't actually do it.
but they need to do all of it because you just never know what's going to happen. So they
Yeah.
need to know how to clean the toilets. They need,
It's
obviously,
just, or
wash
like,
the dishes, take out the
yeah.
trash. You can't leave your trash in the room. Like if you eat food in your room, you cannot leave it there. You get bugs. Like it's disgusting. Take the stuff out. That's why there's dumpsters.
Yeah. But it's, I don't know. It's just like more than that, I guess. I think that sometimes kids are not as prepared as they need to be to go into college of like, okay, my study habits are fine, my social habits are fine, but
Mhm.
like, what about my self-care?
So
And that's like in all aspects. That means, yes, cleaning your room, but it also means like, okay, I'm not going to go out and drink for the fourth night in a row.
it's so interesting that you say that because and not that this would necessarily be part of a class. I mean, you guys in high school did what was that life skills class?
Yeah.
But it's
Well,
not enough. It's not enough. Like,
no,
so it does talk about stuff like that, but I still think that they need a home ec for all kids. It's not
I
like
completely
boys and
agree. I
girls
don't know
separate, like boys
why.
do shop and girls do
No,
sewing,
it should be everything. Like, I should know how to change a tire, but I also should know how to bake a pie, and I also should know how to file my taxes.
and you should know how to sew a button on, and you should know how to, I mean,
Like,
all these basic things that
I
we don't
completely agree because they're
teach
parts of like it
anymore.
shouldn't be like a rarity in life to find someone that can sew a button because it's
Okay,
so easy.
bake a pie is a lot, so I wouldn't say that would be part of home ec, but
Fine.
like
But like being able to
making
feed
eggs,
yourself,
like cooking pasta, like basic things that if you're not taught that at home, I still feel like there could be an amazing opportunity at high school for like a class in your senior year saying, here's the things. And I know checks are going by the wayside. So within 2 years, all checks will be gone. So you don't need to know how to write a check
who
anymore.
said that?
Research it. It's true. If they're going by the wayside, 2026,
Where,
there's going to be no more
okay.
checks. There's a lot of reasons behind it. But anyways, so there are basic daily skills that
Uh-huh.
you need to know that you don't
Yeah.
really think about as a child. And that, again, we try as parents to teach you, at least we do, and hopefully most parents do, but still, like, there's a lot that you learn when all of a sudden you're out there, you're like, okay, which one is the washer and which one is the dryer? Like, really
No,
funny things,
I
right?
agree.
Where,
I think that we don't prepare kids enough for the real world. Also, I've been really the education system lately, I've been really analyzing the lackings in it. And I think that like a lot of our major issues in the States, at least, come down to like failings in our education system of like, I don't know, just like teaching common sense stuff. Um,
for example,
and well, not even just common sense, but like talking about, I just finished my art final and talking about like drug abuse programs and how like, yeah, we had DARE, which was completely ineffective. If anything, it just taught you how to do drugs, but there's no like alcohol management courses. And yeah, there is. It's like, okay, don't do that. Okay, but like it needs to be real.
right.
Like it needs to
Just
be
saying
real. We need to have an
abstinence
actual
does it. Yeah.
conversation about
Yeah.
it because no one is like, I mean, I think a very small percentage of the population genuinely waits till 21 to have their first alcoholic beverage. And even then, you still need a training for it.
Yeah.
Like,
So well, whether I want to say this or not, we were very specific in letting our kids try stuff. I mean, not getting, sloshed or whatever, but really saying, okay, this is what beer should taste like. This is what wine should
yeah,
taste like. Not like, here, this tastes like urine. This is the beer you should be drinking, right? I mean,
yeah. But
and
it's like a bunch of things. Like it's even more than that because
oh, I
it's you
agree.
think you're invincible when you're
Yeah.
17, 18.
Yeah. I mean,
And
we've
like
had
we have
many,
this
go ahead.
insane drinking culture in the United States that really promotes binge drinking. And
Let's see if we can
like,
make towers out of our shot glasses, right? Like
yeah,
that.
if you don't know, and it's fun, it's fine. Like I'm not gonna say I'm anti-drinking and I haven't participated. I think my thing is like no one has taught you how to. And like, yeah, like you need to be taught how, like everything else,
Right.
how to do it responsibly, how to do your laundry correctly.
I think that when it comes to drinking, a lot of parents put their blinders on because they believe they tell their kids that you can't drink. This is a horrible
Yeah.
situation. This is what it's going to do to you. Then they think their kids aren't going to do it. But the problem is there's peer pressure, right? You're surrounded by other kids, and these other kids, I don't even know if every parent had that same conversation with their kids. I think the kids would still drink. I don't think that that's what's going to do it, but it's teaching them to drink responsibly, right?
Yeah.
Because I would be curious on the statistics. I don't know them, but like of kids that are between 16 and 20, what percentage of them have fake IDs?
Probably a ridiculous amount. There's no way
Probably.
they have an actual study on that though, because people would lie.
Right, right. But it would be really interesting to know because, and there are plenty of states actually that you can drink if your parents are with you.
Yeah.
So there's a whole list of them
I think that I was talking to one of my friends recently about like one of the best ways to prepare for not just college is the real life. And this is obviously a very privileged opinion, but like if you have the resources to send your kid to a sleepaway summer camp or a program where they're like going to be away from you for an extended period of time while they're in middle and high school, it develops a sense of independence with everyday tasks, but also in social relationships that you
Yeah.
really need. And obviously that's a privileged opinion. Like a lot of people can't do that, but like if you have the means to, it's something I would definitely recommend.
But I think there are programs too that offer that
Yeah.
without having to pay. Like there are plenty of programs that can do that, but you have to look for them, right? You have to
Yeah. But I
think
think it's
about
so
it.
important. It's just like an independence factor, but it also teaches you how to like develop social relationships and especially in a summer camp situation, how to live with someone else.
That is one of the most difficult things I would have to say is
Yeah.
that learning to, okay, you're
Share
leaving your
a
family.
bedroom.
And even, well, I mean, for plenty of people, they already do share a bedroom, but you're sharing a bedroom with your sibling. And now you're going off and you're sharing a bedroom with a stranger, and they might have the weirdest habits that you've ever seen. Or maybe your
Yeah.
habits are the weirdest that they've ever seen. And now you guys have to figure out how to work it out. Sometimes it doesn't work out. I mean, we knew someone that had to have a restraining order on her roommate because it was that bad. So
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah. It's
those discussions are really important that, hey, if you're living with someone else in your room, you don't leave your crap all over the floor. Like you don't just throw your water bottles on the floor. Like you have to clean up after yourself. You have to be respectful. But it is a really hard adjustment. And
yeah.
I mean, my first year of college, I actually did my first year of college at Auburn and I had three roommates. So we were in a 2-bedroom with a kitchen infested with German roaches dorm. It was fantastic. And I had one roommate and then the other two roommates, they were from Alabama. So they were best friends to start with. But gosh, learning how to live with people that you didn't know. And then they started dating and they wanted to bring their boyfriends back to the room. And
Yeah.
I won't even tell the details from there, but it was
It's just
kind
like
of like,
it's a difficult skill to
yeah,
acquire. And it's
yeah.
like very uncomfortable and you're gonna have to have uncomfortable conversations. And that's also why I recommend like going random your freshman year. I think that choosing a roommate kind of sets expectations.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And also I think that you feel as though, well, I'm responsible for the consequences of my actions with picking said roommate. Therefore, I have to deal with it. But I don't know. I think random is the best way to go. Bless you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, you guys have actually been very fortunate, all of the kids so far. So Ari kind of had a weird experience this year, but it actually worked out great. He was in a 4-bedroom and there were 2 kids per each room, or what do you call them? I'm just going to call them kids. And it ended up that 4 of the kids eventually either left the school or were living at their fraternity or staying with their girlfriend all the time. So it ended up just 4 kids there. So they each had their own room. So he really lucked out. But
Oh, that's nice.
you had a decent roommate your first year. I mean, your suite mates were not so great, but you had
Yeah.
you had a
I mean,
good
my roommate
roommate.
was good. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't keep in contact with her still, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, but it's still just like adjusting to someone else and like their
Yeah.
sleeping habits.
I mean, Emma is still best friends with one of the roommates and still really good friends with the other roommate she had her first year. Jacob is still friends with the roommate he had his first year. So Emma was random. Jacob actually chose because but he didn't even know him. He just knew he was
Yeah.
going there. But I do think that idea of like, who knows who you're going to meet? Like, why not go random, right?
Yeah.
And then
I
what's the
think
worst
go
that
random.
happens? It sucks for a year and then you move on. I mean, Ari's going random next year because he didn't fill out his form, but he's going random next year.
Yeah.
So
I think that college is so much more than, because I feel like we're a little bit over time,
we are.
but
Yeah.
college is so much more than like just a social experience and just an educational experience. It's one of like the weirdest things that you all are like can be, because it's like 4 years of not what the rest of the life is going to look like. You're not going to be, your schedule is not like when you work your 9 to 5, it's not going to be like when you're in college. You're not going to have the freedom and the social aspects that you currently have.
Yeah. You're still kind of in a bubble, right? I mean,
yeah, but you really just have to like learn to make the most of that, and learn that like with all, this is so stupid, with great power comes great responsibility. But
well,
like,
it's true.
Superman was right, bro. Like, if you have all this freedom in the world all this time, but you can't not structure it. Like, you have to be responsible for your actions. You have to own up for them in every situation, whether that's like social or educational failings or like educational positives, all of the above. That's like on you now.
Yeah. I mean, you are the master of your destiny, right? I mean,
Amen.
you are in charge of how you want your life to go. And yes, there are external factors, but every morning you wake up and you can choose to be happy. You can choose to be miserable. You can choose to try to make a new friend. You can choose to just stay in your dorm and not talk to anyone.
And
And
it's scary. I
it is
know it's
scary.
scary.
Yeah.
It's terrifying to meet new people, but you have to do it, because life is not worth living when like, it's not worth being alone for. Like, there's so much beauty in the world, and there's so many people that you can find a person that you truly feel comfortable with, and even if you're this introverted individual, that you can be introverted with, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, that is one of the biggest blessings of college, I think, is that you will find your people, and there will be people just like you, the people that maybe don't want to go and socialize, but they want that one friend. And that's all you need. Is you need a person. You need one person who you can count on, that you can call, that, pushes you over sometimes, or, makes you get their Diet Coke, or you just need that one person. And I think that really, college really opens up those opportunities for us. I mean, I still have one friend from college, right? I had a couple of friends in college. I wasn't super social, but I still have one friend, and I'm 52 years old, and I'm still friends, and I still travel with this one person every year because we made that connection. And I mean, I kind of think that is what it's all about, is finding those connections. Obviously, you're enhancing your mind. You're figuring out what you want to do with your life. That's a discussion for a whole nother day, of how much pressure there is. Like, you got to decide today that this is what you're doing for the rest of your life. But it is such an opportunity to grow as a person and meet people that you do want to spend time with. So
yeah, I completely agree. It's such a special time in your life, and I would just say to make the most of it.
Yeah, because adulting starts right after that, right? I mean, as soon as you're done with college,
even if I'm going
real.
to grad school, it's completely different. It's adult school.
Yeah,
like, I'm in adult school now.
That's funny. It is adult school.
It's completely different.
So what's your calendar tell us for the day? Since we're over time, we are gonna cut it. We could talk about this for hours, I think.
What is it that separates successful people from you and me? They understand, consciously or otherwise, one simple thing: what they think and what they do don't always have to align.
Interesting. Okay, what you think and what you do don't always have to align.
Maybe you should keep some of your thoughts to yourself.
Right. I mean, and thinking back to, if we talk about self-doubt, because I always love to bring it back to that, if we're doubting ourselves, right? If we're thinking that we're not enough, but we do the things that we think we can't, right? We can be successful. And the more we do the things that we think we can't, the more our thought process is going to catch up with what we're actually doing, and we become that confident person. There's a lot to it. Check out my website. My new website comes out next week, and it is
fabulous.
Fire. It is fire. I am so excited about it. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We would love for you to leave a comment, like us, go check out my website, SimoneKnego.com, read my book, The Extraordinary Unordinary You, and keep following our journey. We will see you next time on the Daughter Dearest podcast. Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Daughter Dearest Podcast with Simone and Olivia Knego. We hope this episode has made your day just a little bit brighter and given you the inspiration you need to confidently go about your week. Always remember to be authentically you. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to connect with them on Instagram at Daughter Dearest Podcast, at Simone Knego, and at Olivia Knego. Till next time.